Over a year into the pandemic, and we are all still Slacking, Zooming, Skyping, and even Google chatting. But how much we all do those things may be starting to change as COVID-19 vaccinations pick up. Let's dive into the future work with Slack co-founder and CEO, Stewart Butterfield. Stewart, good to see you as always. We've been talking to you throughout the year plus of the pandemic. What have you been seeing in the business as more folks get vaccinated?
Well, that hasn't shown up in any kind of material way, but I don't know that we expect it to. And look, no one would choose to relive the last year, but I think many people found aspects of this crazy situation that they want to retain. You know, the ability to lose the commute, spend more time with family, have the flexibility to retain their job and live where they want to live. And ultimately, I think it's, just like compensation, the kind of working arrangements that employers offer are driven by the market. No one can stand alone and say, we expect or demand our employees to show up in the office 9 to 5, 5 days a week. If there are alternatives where people can go to work for, similar levels of compensation, similar kinds of jobs, and have that flexibility. But there's a broader question. It's not about remote work. It's not about distributed work. I think it's really a shift from physical first to digital first. And we have relied on, for the last 150 years, since the birth of the modern corporation, a lot of tactics and techniques that are dependent on the physical presence of people and being in the same room. And while I think that is a hugely important aspect of working together and will be retained, people are going to start paying a lot more attention to their digital infrastructure in the same way that they do to their real estate leases, their offices, the construction, the kind of sunk capital that goes into that, because people are going to keep using more and more digital tools to collaborate and to be productive.
Stewart, for those of us who use Slack, in full disclosure, we use Slack at Verizon Media. It's quick, it's easy to use. And so there was perhaps a reason to say, let's connect people who work together, not necessarily the same company, who are clients, who are partners. Slack Connect is what came from that. And you guys rolled that out to a broad audience yesterday and discovered quickly there were maybe some things that you hadn't anticipated about Slack Connect, namely that because of the way the invitations are sent out, there was some abuse that was happening early on. What did you learn in the past 24 hours as a result of this whole experience?
Yeah, there was definitely an unforced error on our part, but also a lot of confusion because the feature Slack Connect Direct Messages, which is kind of a broader part of Slack Connect, which has been a huge driver of the business. There's 74,000 of our paid customers using it now, which is 100% plus up over last year, and the density of the network has grown even faster, 245% over the last year. This is taking the ability to create a shared channel and then message people inside of it, taking the messaging component of that out. And when we first launched it, there was a part of the invitation process that allowed people to enter custom text. And of course, if you can enter custom text, you can enter all kinds of nasty stuff. That we changed, but the feature itself has nothing to do with that. The feature is double opt-in on both sides. Either side of the conversation has the control to kind of sever the relationship. But the intention is not for just anyone to message anyone like email or text messaging, but for people who, as you mentioned, work closely together but happen to work at different companies. And that could be a marketer and someone at a creative agency. It could be someone on the finance team and their auditor. There's all of these customer-supplier relationships, contractors and vendors, where I might work at company X, but I spend most of my time working with people at company Y, and that's what Slack Connect is for.
And so, as you mentioned, you guys quickly made the change yesterday. That started to come out. How big, though, do you expect Slack Connect to be in terms of, we were showing some of the stats on the screen as to how many messages have already been sent. How important a part of Slack and a part of the business do you think that's going to be going forward?
I think it's going to be hugely important. I mean, it's already driving a double-digit percentage of all of our paid customers. People are finding it so much easier to support their customers that they're encouraging or even paying for their customer Slack usage to kind of get them to the point where they're a lot happier with their service. It works really well for both sides for the same reason that Slack works well for internal communication, which is a lot more transparency, a lot more accessibility, the ability to kind of create a channel for any project, topic, initiative, anything that's going on across the company. And once you have that, everyone knows where to go to ask their question, to give their update. But also, in contrast to a company where the principal means of communication is email, you might join such a company next Monday, and despite the fact that there were billions of messages sent before you got there, you start with an empty inbox and no access to any of this history and no access to what's going on simultaneously around you. I think that's something that's going to change. And absolutely, a lot of communication happens not just inside of the company, but between the company and its customers.
Stewart, before we let you go real quickly, the status on the deal with Salesforce, is that going to close soon?
I don't get the timeline. We've had approval from a lot of the regulators around the world. We're still waiting on a couple, including the U.S. We have every expectation that they will happily approve the deal. We have no overlapping businesses. There's no concerns, I think, that would drive people to give a negative decision. But we still have to wait, and we are waiting patiently.
Fair enough. Slack co-founder and CEO Stewart Butterfield, always good to see you. Stay safe.
Thank you.